Today we're going to take a quick tour of Beacon Hill and talk about what it's like to live here, and if you're looking to move here, what to expect.
To start our tour of Beacon Hill, we'll head around the State House. I'm using my one wheel as well as I sped up some of this footage a little bit just to give us a quicker tour. On the right here is a nice little coffee shop, breakfast place, as well as some other bigger government buildings to the right. In this little courtyard area, you'll find a lot of people eating lunch during the summer or nice weather. It's also a great place to kind of take a stroll through. It does close in the evenings, but it's a good place other than that during the day to take a look. Now, coming down these stairs, you'll see a couple of large buildings in front of you. Some of these used to be Suffolk University. Since then, Suffolk has actually sold them and they are now mostly development. So the larger development here is the Archer, which is straight ahead of you and to the left a little bit. And there are a few other condo buildings as well that have popped up. But overall, it has added almost 80 to 90 condo units, almost 100 units into Beacon Hill, which is rare for Beacon Hill to add new units. So it was very interesting to see. It is a really cool building. You can kind of see it on your left here, where they have modified it from what it looked like past. It's a great dog-friendly condo building if that's what you're looking for in Boston. There's a couple little park areas. As you can see, everything's kind of dressed up for the holidays. From here, if we went straight down that street where we were just heading, we'd end up on Cambridge Street, which is one of the borders of Beacon Hill. Now coming back up Temple Street, you'll see the State House again. Me trying not to hit any pedestrians and navigate the rough street here. I will say one of the downsides of Beacon Hill is that there is so much construction that the streets never seem to be paved smoothly, but that's okay. Some of these other, as we get into the hill here, you'll see some large single families as well as some really nice condos and some nice apartment buildings. Like this gray building on the right, for instance, is a nice apartment building with a lot of great unique apartments. It's got a great patio in the back, a big patio area in the back. And then it's just kind of a mix. Some of these are single families, some of them are condos. Another new development is going to come up on the right here. Again, more State House. Is a very large building. To the right here, there's another new building. This grayish building here to your right is another new condo building that has gone up in the last year or two called the Meridian.
Beacon Hill is roughly divided into three areas: the North Slope, South Slope, and the Flats. You could also kind of count the West End, but most people don't, so we won't for this video. I'll show you a little bit of it just to be complete. Now, right now I'm walking down the South Slope of Beacon Hill, which is on the other side of Mount Vernon Street, and each side of Mount Vernon Street is North Slope, South Slope, and then at the bottom of Mount Vernon Street on the other side of the Charles is the flat of the hill, which you can tell because you're no longer on a hill, rather you're in the flats by the river.
Here we'll head up Pinckney Street, back towards Joyce Street, and you'll notice cars are parked on one side of the street, which is pretty common in Beacon Hill. There are a lot of one-way streets, and about half of them have parking only on one side and the other has it on both. I actually have a full video on parking alone, both in Boston in general and Beacon Hill specifically. So look out for those videos if you are looking to bring a car to Beacon Hill. I also have a few other videos detailing Beacon Hill specifically, and it will answer questions such as why does this have a purple glass pane window and other things.
Here we are for a quick stop in Lewisburg Square, one of the more famous spots in Beacon Hill. It is a few spots under construction, so you might hear that in the background. Aside from the free parking, which is kind of nice for residents of Lewisburg Square, it does have cobblestone streets, some of the oldest houses in the neighborhood, and of course it is famous for its Halloween festivities. If you ever are in Beacon Hill around Halloween, it's definitely worth a look, and you'll see lots of crowds of people, as well as some really great houses dressed up for Halloween too, which is cool to see. No tour in Boston would be complete without stopping at Acorn Street. It is one of the most famous streets in Beacon Hill and of all of Boston. It's been said it's the most photographed street in the country, which I can see why. Every time I walk by here, there's at least someone taking a photo or a video. And I often have seen magazine shoots or lots of engagement photos and other things here, as well as lately a lot of Instagram shoots. For good reason. It's a cool street. It's got some great examples of Boston architecture, and it's just kind of a fun, very unique feel to it. From Acorn Street, let's head over to the flat of the hill and check that out. Now, to go from North Slope and South Slope to the flat of the hill, you just have to cross Charles Street.
Here in the flat of the hill, you'll find a great example of some different types of architecture that's a little different from the other sides of the hill. You'll also find scattered throughout a few restaurants, 75 Chestnuts here to your right, as well as great little shops and other things. If you consider Charles Street as part of the flat of the hill, which is kind of the dividing line, there's a ton of retail. So although you think of Beacon Hill usually as residential, there are a scattering of retail and other things like schools and churches that make up the hill.
As you can see, the common is right on the edge here, or actually that's the garden. And if we go this way, at the end of this street, you can see the footbridge that goes over to the Esplanade.
One of my favorite things about Beacon Hill are all the carriage houses, which is another fancy word for the old barns that have been turned into houses. You can see a great example of this on the right, as well as some of the ones that we just passed on our left. And as we come up here to the Arthur Fiedler footbridge, which has just been repaired over this last summer in 2021 and 2020, and it'll lead you directly to the Esplanade. And in front of us, you find the dividing line between Beacon Hill and Back Bay. And to the left up there is the corner of the garden and Arlington Street. Incidentally, my office is straight down there on Arlington Street to the right, and it's a great spot for me to be able to pop in and out of the city from.
I'm coming to you from the footbridge that goes over Sturo Drive, so it might be a little loud here, but this is the edge of Beacon Hill, and right in front of me is Back Bay and the public garden. Behind me is the Esplanade, the Charles River, and Cambridge. And to the left of me is all the flat of the hill, which then goes up into Beacon Hill onto the north and south slope of Beacon Hill. I'll take you around some of the other spots in Beacon Hill so you can see it. We'll head down from the footbridge here to check out the flat of the hill. Also right in front of us now is the Union Boat Club, which was founded in 1851 and is one of the oldest private athletic clubs in the United States. It's also, I believe, the oldest continuously operated rowing club in Boston, and it has a boathouse on the Charles. To the left, you can see the Hat Shell, which is where they play a lot of concerts, especially the 4th of July one, where the fireworks will launch on the Charles River, but then the concerts and the orchestra will be in the Hat Shell there. It's also a fun public area to hang out in. Now we'll take a quick scoot down some of these side streets in the flat of the hill. It is a pretty quiet area of Beacon Hill. It has some really cool history to it, and there's also some really great houses and other structures kind of to look at. You'll see a few churches, a few schools, a lot of old single-family homes, as well as multiple condo buildings and other options. Swinging onto Mount Vernon Street. As you might have noticed, we hit Mount Vernon Street a few times in this tour. That's because Mount Vernon Street is one of the kind of dividing streets in Beacon Hill. It separates, at the top of the hill, it separates the north slope from the south slope, and it's also one of the only two-way streets in the center of Beacon Hill. A large building on your left, and straight ahead of us is the meeting house, which there's a Tate Bakery there, which is a really popular spot. To the left, there's a firehouse, which is runs a few great kids programs. And then some of these back alleys are kind of a fun area in Beacon Hill. Not a lot of Beacon Hill spaces have parking like this, so it is kind of unique to this part of the flats. And as you'll see as we go through, most people do resident parking or a garage somewhere, as opposed to having their own private alley, which they would more often have somewhere like the South End. Now here we're at the end of Charles Street. I notice I skipped forward a little bit, but if you look, that's the MGH T-stop. Across that bridge there is a bridge, Longfellow Bridge to Cambridge. Right in front of us is the new hotel that was finished in the beginning of 2020. And if we head on down Charles Street, you can kind of see this is also one of the dividing streets of Beacon Hill, but it's also kind of considered the center of Beacon Hill. There are a lot of restaurants, a lot of retail shops, and some great things that really make Beacon Hill special. To the right, above the JP Licks there, is one of the larger parking garages in Beacon Hill. The post office is already to the right here. There's a great liquor store on the left, and there's a few other things you'll see as we go down the street here. Some of the retail shops will change from year to year, just like anywhere, but there are a few that have been around for a long time. There's also a few that have moved from one side of the street to the other, or kind of down the street and in different areas. Now, as we stroll all the way down Beacon Hill, or all the way down Charles Street in Beacon Hill here, you'll see at the end of the street is the Boston Common. On one side is the Common, the other side is the Garden. And we're about to cross over Mount Vernon Street again. So as you can see, we've hit Mount Vernon Street a lot, which you tend to do in Beacon Hill. There's also a lot of construction going on, as I think I mentioned in a different part of this video, which is pretty normal. There's also a lot of times deliveries and things like that will double park on Charles Street, which can make it a little bit difficult to navigate. But in the end, it's a pretty quiet street anyway, so it's not always bad to have some of these things blocked off. And it's not the end of the world. It does occasionally cause some slowdowns though. From the end of Charles Street, we'll head up Beacon Street alongside the park, or better known as the Common, one of the oldest public parks in the country. And then we'll duck into the hill from there. If we were to continue up this street, we would end up back at the State House, right where we started. Instead, we'll duck in here and check out a little bit more on Beacon Hill before we end the video. One of the other great things about Beacon Hill is the shopping and the cool little shops that are here. There's a lot of local shops, both on Charles Street and scattered throughout the hill. So whether you're looking for necessities or just a little gift, there's always something to be found, and there's some cool shops to explore. Here we are on the north slope of Beacon Hill. On this side of the hill, you tend to find more condos and a few less single-family homes, although like everywhere in Beacon Hill, there are a little bit of both. So it just depends on what you're looking for. We'll go around, I'll show you where we can see, you can get down to the North Station pretty quickly. You can also go see the TD Garden and see some Bruins games or Celtics games or concert. To conclude our Beacon Hill tour, I'll take you through the north slope of Beacon Hill here, out by MGH and up Cambridge Street. Now straight ahead of you, you'll notice the downtown crossing and downtown. To your left is MGH and a few of the related buildings. They have a rather large campus, which makes up a lot of the West End. To the right is a lot of retail that is still part of Beacon Hill, although Cambridge Street kind of gets left out often when you're thinking about Beacon Hill. And then straight ahead of you will be the government center, City Hall, things like that. So we'll go down on some of these nice new bike paths that they put in. The West End is more to your left, whereas to the right is a little bit more Government Center, City Hall area. And then straight ahead of you is a mix of the North End and City Hall, North End and West End, depending on how you split it. If we kept going this direction that we see now, you'd end up in Haymarket and the North End. A couple of nice new buildings are up over here, and then we'll circle back around here. What you'll see is the courthouse on your right, and then straight ahead of us, if you kept going, you'd end up right back at the State House where we started. Thank you for watching, and I hope you subscribe. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments.